merchandise. No! It can't be! Zim!
This is Invader Zim! From humble beginnings...
You picked the wrong planet to land on, Zim. Wait a minute. What planet is this? Earth. Nope. It's the right planet.
...to cult classic. This show has quite the dedicated fan base that have actually gone on to create their own Invader Zim conventions. Conventions they created a few years after the show was canceled due to low ratings. What happened?
I don't know.
Well, let's take a look at the core premise of the show. A race of aliens called the Urk are planning galactic conquest. But first, they're gonna send their top invaders to the various planets for reconnaissance. Zim is not one of those top invaders. He...
But sir, we're still on our old planet!
...is a danger to himself and others, especially if you're on his side.
I put the fires out.
You made them worse.
Worse? Or better?
The main Urkin leaders are the almighty tallest, as in literally the tallest of the aliens.
See? I told you they like the lasers. Everything is lasers with you. I'm telling you, the smoke machines are what the people really...
They're quite the effective comedic duo. Zim is sent on a wild goose chase, so he won't cause any problems. He makes his way to Earth, sets up his base, thinks, oh, this is my super top secret mission.
Whoa! Oh man! An alien! An alien! False alarm.
Yes, that's his actual disguise, with the joke being that it actually works most of the time.
Okay. Am I the only one here who sees the aliens sitting in class?
Then there's Dib, the stereotypical 90s conspiracy theorist who believes in aliens, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, etc. But since everyone sees him as a paranoid conspiracy theorist, nobody believes him.
What's wrong with you? All you talk about is aliens and ghosts and seeing Bigfoot in your garage. He was using the belt sander.
Dib's father is a comedic take on the mad scientist, and their teacher...
When you were my students, I said you'd amount to nothing. And I was right. You're nothing!
...is called Miss Bitters for a reason. Obviously, she's supposed to be the stereotypical mean teacher, but I like to think of her as brutally honest.
Sorry, I'm late. Horrible nightmare visions.
It's called life, Dib. Sit down.
That just leaves Dib's sister Gaz, the smart one who probably deserved more screen time in the show, and of course the most important character...
I saw a squirrel. He was doing like this.
Grrr. Yes, even though the show is called Invader Zim, this is the face of the franchise. He's the one on all the merchandise. He's the character you're gonna recognize even if you have no idea what Invader Zim is. With a few, no spoilers, exceptions, most of the Invader Zim stories have a very loose continuity. This lets individual episodes take their stories to exaggerated extremes, plus most episodes are split in half, so instead of having to marathon an entire series, you can just enjoy individual episodes, and there are some episodes that build on existing continuity, mainly episode 20, so you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Say, you're full of organs, aren't you?
Why, yes. Yes, I am.
And you wouldn't notice if you were, say, missing a few.
Probably not.
Some of these episodes really push the boundaries of what can be in a kid's show. In many ways, Invader Zim was ahead of its time, and I think it still holds up today.
As a show of gratitude for your service in the past, here's a sandwich.
Despite being an amazing show, it was still canceled, and I think a lot of this has to do with who the show appeals to versus who the target demographic was. Zim is supposed to be a show that appeals to kids in middle school, whereas most Nicktoons appeal to kids in elementary school, but the show kind of overshot the mark and ended up appealing to kids in high school. Fans started a petition to keep the show going, Nickelodeon said no. This left the fans with 2, more like 1.5 seasons, scripts for episodes that were never produced, notes on how the show would have evolved in later seasons, and of course their dedication. This dedication is how Invader Zim is able to succeed. People are still buying plenty of merchandise.
Oh, wait! Come back! I need stuff!
The show does pretty well on online streaming platforms, and every so often there were hints at a reboot or a continuation. Usually Nickelodeon would test the market by airing Invader Zim reruns, which were of course extremely popular with the fans.
Don't you know an invader never stops until their mission is complete?
In 2015, Invader Zim re-emerged in comic book form, and 2019 saw the release of Invader Zim Enter the Florpus.
I launched that pug into space.
I thought you liked that pig.
Why'd I do that?
Yep, that's Invader Zim being random and hilarious. Aside from a few minor complaints, Enter the Florpus feels like the final episode the show deserved. The comics have more freedom to tell a variety of stories, and if you're wondering who comes up with all these crazy ideas, that'd be the show's creator, Jhonen Vasquez.
The ability to see that this guy who worked on comics that weren't for kids, why I might be a good candidate for working on a kids show, I got lucky that someone thought that of me.
Nickelodeon saw a young artist whose resume literally included a comic called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and said, "Wanna make a kid's show?"
Thank you.
Throw in a bit of sci-fi and dark humor mixed with wacky cartoon antics, and you have a show that's definitely worth checking out. This is the Hypervisor, signing off.
I gotta sing the Doom song now.